Welcome, everyone. My name is Jesse Thomas. I'm the CEO of Picky Bars. As you can see, grossly branded behind me with our wrappers. Thanks so much for everybody for joining in. We're really excited. This is our first ever conversation with one of our newly sponsored Picky Team athletes, Rob Krar. We've got some great athletes on the team. We're really excited to take advantage of them. And we've got all kinds of technical, like 9 different laptops in here. This is incredibly unprofessional. As I was just going to say, it's our first try ever doing this, so there will probably be lots of hiccups along the way. But we're excited to bring you Rob here. Rob, thank you so much for being our guinea pig and also just for being an awesome ambassador to our company. Thanks a lot for joining us, man.
Yeah, Jesse, thanks for having me. And just to put your mind at ease, this is the way I like to roll. The more unprofessional, the more comfortable I am. So I love it.
Perfect. Okay, well, I'm going to do a little bit of an intro here. We at Picky Bars pride ourselves on great research. And we've got, so I'm going to do a little bit of our background here. Let's see. Rob is coming off of his second Western States 100-mile championship, where he won by, quote, a lot, as my research team tells me, and he missed the record by, quote, a little.
Good way to put it. I like that.
Does that sound about right?
That is a great background check there. I love it.
Okay, good. So that was 15 days ago. My research team has also informed me that he's won lots of other races. Is that right?
I mean, you know, I've won some other races. Yeah, sounds good. They're right on.
He's also got the fastest known time for single and double crossing of the Grand Canyon. Mm-hmm. His other sponsors include the North Face, Nathan, Goo, and Wanderlust Brewing. And of course, as anybody that's watching here live can see, he has maybe the most amazing beard in lots of different sports, not just ultra running. Rob, so fill us in, man. My first question, just how are you doing, dude? How are you feeling? That was 15 days ago. What's the recovery like? What have you been up to?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. Western States was incredible. So I just wrapped up my first year of an ultra running camp. It was 6 days long. Campers arrived last Sunday, and they departed on just yesterday. And the camp was amazing, but it was an interesting year because we got back from Western States and it was just nonstop planning and dialing in the final logistics. So I took a week without any running at all, and I ran with the campers throughout the week, and it was actually a really good transition week for me. Held me back from doing too much, but still got some really great miles in with the campers on some of my favorite trails. I feel amazing. Not to get too into it, but last year I won Western States, and I was the high wore off really quickly. And this time last year, I was in a really dark place, and that's when I first really realized that I really needed to make a change in my life, or what I was doing was not sustainable. So one of the biggest things was I left my job as a pharmacist about 3 months ago, and I'm on a 6-month leave right now. And I'm really starting to see the benefits of that, not just physically, but mentally as well. So now, 2 weeks post Western States, I can honestly say I'm in a really good place, and I'm the happiest person I've been in a really long time. And a lot of that has to do with this incredible camp we had. The energy was amazing. Things went flawlessly. And this group of folks we had gave me a lot of hope. And that's what I'm kind of banking on as this next high is inevitably going to start wearing off at some point.
That's awesome, man. Can you tell us, is that something that you're going to try to do every year now, or do you have another one set up already? Where can people find out about this camp?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt we're going to do it again. We're going to let this one settle in.
Yep.
And figure it out. But yeah, most likely next summer. We're definitely looking at some other options with some smaller weekend getaways, even a winter camp as well. Ski mountaineering has been such an instrumental part of my health the last couple of years and success. I envision a day of the camp being in the morning, we're up on the mountain ski mountaineering, and in the afternoon we are running the beautiful trails in Sedona. So there's a lot of potential out there for sure. We're really looking forward to it.
All right. Well, I think, I don't exactly know who our audience is going to be on this thing. I think we'll have a mix of, ultra runners that know of you, know a lot about the sport, and probably a lot of newbies like myself that know very, very little and that had to be coached prior to this conversation to make sure that I didn't say anything too stupid. And actually I was going to say, if I do say anything dumb, call me out on it, please. Don't let it slide.
Yes, sir. I'll do that.
Okay. So why don't you tell us a little bit for the newbies, just a little bit about your background and kind of what led you to, ultra running.
Sure. That's a long story that I'll try and make short. So I ran in high school. I went to Butler University from 96 to 2001 on a cross country and track scholarship. So I was actually a middle distance runner in university. I ran the 800 mostly indoors and 1500 outdoors. My studies combined with racing Division I was pretty intensive, and actually threw my spikes in the garbage can at the end of my very last race. And I, at that point, I had no plans of ever running again. I knew I would, but
Wow.
I was really cooked. And I moved to Phoenix for a couple of years, took a job there. And yeah, I really didn't run for about 3 years. And I was going to move back up to my homeland, Canada. And I really wanted to get out of Phoenix. It wasn't the right place for me. So there was a job opening in Flagstaff, and my plan was to move to Flagstaff, study for a year to pass my Canadian board exams, and then move back home. And it's a decade later, and Flagstaff is home. We bought a townhome a couple years ago, so feel really comfortable here and happy here. And of course, I'm biased, but I think Flagstaff's the greatest place in the world to be an ultra runner. It's pretty incredible. So again, kind of fell back into the running scene, ran the roads for a bit in 2006, 2007, ran my 1-0 only road marathon, the Boston Marathon. I think it was 2007 or 8, the year of the nor'easter. But I wasn't listening to my body, and I was running myself into the ground. I was getting injured a lot, had 2 bouts of adrenal fatigue that took close to a year each to recover from. Then where are we? We're in 2009. I ran Trans Rockies. I was running with pain in my heels, which turned out to be Hageland's deformity. And I was running with a compensated stride, ran myself into the ground, ended up needing surgery, completely quit running at that point. The recovery from that surgery was long, and I tried to come back too fast, and I thought it was unsuccessful. Long story short, by quitting running, by leaving running, that allowed me the time for my body to heal. And also part of the story is I met my wife in 2009 at that race, and she wasn't so into the hardcore athlete and runner type. So it's funny how all the pieces came together, because if I was healthy and I was a serious runner, I don't think we would have had the opportunity to have fallen in love. So it's funny how you don't understand why things happen at the time, but all those pieces of the puzzle had to come together to allow my body to heal and get into a better place to begin my ultra running career, which really started on a whim in 2012. We had a group of friends heading out to a race. I was just going to jump in the 25K, but there was a 50K option, and it seems to be a theme. I just winged it and hit my first ultra, and it went well. And things very quickly snowballed from there. My body was healthy. I really enjoyed the longer distances. I liked the longer time on the trails alone training. And then, 6 months later, I find myself towing the line at Western States. It's been a really incredible ride, and it's just taken off the last couple of years.
That's crazy, man. One of my questions was, it seemed like, from, like I said, our very detailed research, that you came onto the scene and were immediate. I mean, you got second in your first Western States, and you were kind of immediately competitive on a worldwide level. Was there a time leading up to that you decided, I want to be, I think I can be one of the best in the world, or I want to be one of the best in the world? Or was it just I'm just going to start running a bunch and running really far, and maybe I'll sign up for some races and we'll just see how it goes?
Maybe a happy medium.
Okay.
I feel like back when I was running the roads in 2007, 2008, I really felt I had the potential to run really fast, and in the back of my mind, I thought hitting the Olympic standard for the marathon was within the realm of possibility. I've always tackled things head on. In high school I ran, but I also did triathlon. I went to 2 world championships in triathlon, Wellington, New Zealand in '94 and Cancun in '95. So I think I've always had the potential, but I was running myself into the ground. And the most important thing about my success right now is when I came back, this opportunity is really unexpected. And I knew I had to do things differently or I was going to be injured and quitting running again very quickly. So, completely new running philosophy, rest and recovery being paramount. So when this whole thing started, I was apprehensive, and I was getting some attention from some sponsors, but for me, I wasn't even going to touch it for a while because it was important for me to prove my durability and that I had learned from my past mistakes. And after Western States, that really kind of ingrained in my mind that I could be really good at this and have a successful career if I can be smart. And things took off from there, and thankfully I've been healthy. Long stretches of consistent training and long or big blocks of time off as well has been key to this whole
That's
journey I've been
the
on.
next thing I was going to ask is, what do you think? What are some of the changes that you've made that have helped you be more consistent? Because I imagine, and maybe less injury prone. Because I imagine that's one of the things that I know certainly in triathlon, that's something that people struggle with, and it clearly triathlon doesn't take the same toll on your body as ultra running does. So, what are some of those things that have helped you stay more consistent? Some of those changes to your life or your diet or your, training, whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of things. I ate well before I met Christina, but Christina has a passion for food and really takes care of me, care of my diet. There's no extremes. It's just healthy eating. We don't deny ourselves the pleasures of dessert and some treats once in a while. Very thankful and fortunate to have her in my life for many reasons, that being one of them. Rest and recovery. Back when I was running roads, the idea of taking an unscheduled day off was kind of blasphemy. And I think that's the mindset most people are in. Whereas these days, I always do 6 days on, 1 day off. That's my regular schedule. But if whether it's my mind or my body telling me I need an extra day, I don't hesitate to take it, and I don't feel guilty. And honestly, it's great because I'm like, shit, I got an extra day off. I can catch up on life. This is awesome. So really embracing what your body and mind are telling you is huge. And then probably one of the biggest keys is come mid-December, early December, I literally do not put my running shoes on for 10 weeks. I do ski mountaineering during those 10 weeks, and that's super high aerobic exercise with absolutely no impact. So those 10 weeks allow my body and mind that mental and spiritual break that I never gave myself before. So those would be the biggest keys to staying healthy over such a long period of time.
Dude, I love it. You're just like speaking, preaching to the choir or whatever, because that's just all of those things, like that key to just that balance, like not only, kind of daily, weekly, like making decisions based on how your body feels, scheduling in that day off and then not being afraid to take it, when your body says you need it. And then also just the cyclical yearly, like, hey, there's big points in the year where you're training your butt off, and there you have to have compensatory times where you are just chilling. That's awesome. It's cool to hear, because that's kind of, I've learned from my wife, Lauren, who's the best athlete I know, and she does the same thing. And it's just cool to hear that's not unique just to running on the track or, another sport. It's cool.
Yeah, it's true. And, it took me a number of running lives to figure it out. So, to be able to share this with people now and maybe avoid other people making the mistakes I did is I feel very valuable for me to be able to share.
Cool. Well, so here, let's get in a little bit into Western States here. So we've got, according to our research, tell me if I'm wrong, you've only raced Western States 3 times. You were second the first time and first the other 2 times. That's pretty good, man.
I've had a good run at Western States, without a doubt. I remember the night before the first race in 2013. I remember sitting in my condo. It was unconditioned, and no air conditioning. It was record heat for that weekend. And I was sitting there in my underwear, my crew all around, just kind of staring blankly at the wall, like, what the hell have I gotten myself into? I need to run 100 miles tomorrow. So super intimidating. And to finish second that first year and manage the heat was incredible. You know, I remember sitting in that chair moments after finishing with Tim Olson, and I didn't have to say it, but I knew my goal for the next year was to win the race. And that was a huge journey to have that come to fruition. And then this past year was another almost spiritual journey into the race. You know, finding that balance, never-ending struggle to find balance, but entering it the happiest, most confident, strongest runner I've ever been a third go-around, and having it work out so well. You know, I'll tell you a little story about when I set that Grand Canyon rim to rim to rim record. Magical day, and I pushed my luck. I went in there 2 more times in the following month, and I had 2 of the most frightening experiences of my running career. Just got in over my head, and it was really scary. And I realized at that point that I felt like I had taken too much from the canyon, and I was being greedy, and I didn't set foot in the canyon for a year after that. I feel similarly about Western. I've had 3 years at a race that has literally changed the course of my life. And I'm not going to push my luck. I won't be there next year. I'll definitely return at one point. But I'm going to go out on a high note. I'm so happy with what I accomplished there, and it's time to explore some other races.
Wow, man, that's cool. That's cool to hear. That's just a very it's a very, I don't know, spiritual way to look at it and to be that cognizant, you know. Because you're right. I mean, I think it you know, a lot of times it's easy. It's typical for athletes, right, to just want more and more and more, and that's a lot of times when you break yourself or something happens. So that's cool. I was going to ask. I mean, clearly you've done some other. You know, you've won lots of other races, as we mentioned. You've had some other amazing feats. But what is it about Western States? Why is it such a good course for you? Like, is there something specific to that course or that environment, or you know, whatever it is?
Yeah, it's just a number of things. The fact that it was my first 100-miler holds a special place in my heart. The course suits my strengths, without a doubt. It's definitely a runner's course with very little technical terrain, a lot of smooth descending. And then the history of the race, it has a storied history, and it carries the most prestige, I would think, of any North American ultra anyway. And I've just had an incredible time. The race has almost 1,500 volunteers race day for 370 participants. One of the things I really enjoy doing each year is when I get the welcome packet, I look to the crew station volunteer chart, and it lists how many years these people have been at the same aid station. And I think the highest number here is 24 years. 24 years, the same person has manned the same aid station at that course. And it's a great example of the importance the race carries, not just for the runners, but for so many. So it's a magical experience, whether you're winning the race, finishing last like Gunhild did, or achieving your dreams middle of the pack. You can't go wrong with Western States.
Yeah, that's interesting. We actually got a question from one of our, you know, Picky Bars people that submitted questions online. This is from Pamela from Sacramento. She says, you ran part of the final mile at Western States with 70-year-old Gunhild. Is that how you pronounce her name?
Yep.
Swanson, the oldest official finisher ever. What was that like? And did she give you any advice?
When I talk about going out on a high at Western States, you know, that really put me over the edge. Last year at Leadville, I made it back for the last hour of finishers, and that was the first time I've caught that magic hour in an ultra. And I had tears coming down my face because the emotion, not just for the runners, but for the crew and family joining them across the finish line, it was really emotional, and I wanted to experience that again this year. So made my way back to Roby Point, which is about a mile from the finish. The last mile is paved to this really kind of quaint and idyllic neighborhood. And you know, I just wanted to go out there and hang out and cheer people on. And I got word that Gunhild was really close to making the 30-hour mark, but it was going to be really tight, and probably more likely that she would not make it. So, you know, she ran by, and I encouraged her, and I just got into a running stride, and I got caught up in the moment and ended up running all the way to the track with her. And it was incredible. So she'd run 99 miles. She'd gone off course about an hour earlier, ton of pressure. in that last mile stretch, I walked probably a quarter mile of it on the steeper hill inclines. And all it would have taken was one single 5-second hiking break, which would have been more than justified. She ran in a running stride that entire way to the track, where she also ran, I think, close to 7-minute pace the last 300 meters around the track. So, and she made it by 6 seconds. The energy was incredible. So for me to have the opportunity to set foot on the track twice, to such incredible energy, was amazing. One thing I want to emphasize is I feel very fortunate to have joined her for that last mile, but I feel I'm receiving too much attention for it. It's her crew, it's her pacers, it's her family members that got her through that race. I was just fortunate to join her for the last mile, and it was a really beautiful thing.
It's so cool. It gives me goosebumps thinking about. We saw the video, right? Didn't we have video? Wasn't there a video of that? Yeah, that was really cool stuff. I've seen the 17 hour, I think it's the 17-hour mark for Ironman is kind of a similar thing. People sprinting across the finish line, just getting under there. It's super fun. It's what the sport's all about. So tell us a little bit about, I guess this is kind of like a double question, but coming back as defending champion is a different, clearly like a little bit different mindset, different amount of, pressure, at least maybe, you would assume it would be. What's going, did you approach it differently? And then during the race, what's going through your mind, as it's going down?
Yeah, returning as defending champion really never played a role in my mind. There's no additional pressure. I approach these races, everyone is such a huge focus and huge goal. And I start these races knowing that I'm going to run my own race for quite a ways, probably a half to 3/4 of the race. So being defending champion for me wasn't any pressure, because I'm out there doing the same thing I did the previous years. I stood on the starting line, real confident. I knew I was going in healthy and strong and fit. But I also knew the competition stepped up their game as well, and we had a couple Europeans I'd never raced before. Francois Dane was widely considered the best ultra runner in the world last year, and to line up on the starting line with him was exciting, and it was fun. It was I don't want to say playing games, but certainly challenging them in certain points, trying to determine their strengths and weaknesses. And for the longest time, I couldn't determine their weaknesses, and I don't want to say it was frustrating, but it was eye-opening. There was a long stretch of a very moderate downhill where I really thought I'd pull away, and they were actually setting the pace. So that's when I got thinking, this is going to be a tough deal out here. So, stay focused. Don't get caught up in the moment. And I'd say, I had probably my one of my proudest, most mature moments of any ultra in my ultra running career, about 38 miles into the race, where three guys, Seth Swanson, who ended up finished second, Francois Dane, and Thomas Lord Blanchet, all runners who had the potential to win the race, had all pulled away from me. And I looked at my watch and I thought, this pace is too hot this early in the race. And I actually slowed down and let them pull away further from me. So to have that confidence to do that 38 miles into the race really meant a lot to me, and told me a lot about how much I've learned in the past two and a half years of racing.
Wow, that's incredible, man. Yeah, that would be really tough to do. Takes for sure. Takes a lot of confidence and patience, I guess, too, right? Just to be, know that, hey, this is, and just internal, I guess, just, I'm racing my own race. That's huge.
Yeah.
What about the course record? Was that ever on your mind? Or, I mean, like I said, according to our research, you were very close.
Yeah, I was. So I was using a course record pace as a guide to make sure I wasn't going too fast. Essentially, it was my mindset. I've said for a long time, really my whole ultra running career, that chasing records is a very dangerous thing to do. I tried to do that at JFK, and I blew up there, and that really ingrained it in my head. And I've been very cautious to that point. I think I had the best race I could. The record would have been a bonus for sure. And retrospect is so perfectly clear. I can play the guessing game, second guessing all the time. Like, well, I could have made up time here, could have made up time there. But Tim has that record. He ran an amazing race, and he could play the same games as well. So I gave everything I could on the day, and my primary goal was to win the race. The record would have been a really amazing bonus, but I'm really proud of what I did out there.
Yeah, that's huge. Awesome stuff, man. Let's do some, I've got some more general questions for you. So getting off the specific of Western states. One question I just think anybody that's not as super familiar with ultra running is just how do you balance your training with like your other obligations? You know, what does your normal day or week look like? You know, how do you fit everything in?
Yeah, that's kind of a long answer as well. So prior to 3 months ago, I'd been working a graveyard position as a pharmacist in retail for over a decade. So
Absolutely nuts.
it would be 7 graveyard shifts in a row, and then I'd have the following 7 days off. And those started and finished on Wednesday, so it allowed me time to readjust before the weekend. And you know, I got into a good routine. I could manage it, but when this ultra running exploded, it became more and more difficult to manage my time and enjoy life. I think was the most important part. I got through last year with an amazing year of running and racing and success, but it was really weighing heavily on my mental health, and also it was tough on Christina and I because we were able to spend less and less time with each other. So something needed to change. So I have a new routine, a temporary routine where I'm not working as a pharmacist, but I've occupied myself with other projects. The running camp was one of them. I'm revamping my coaching for the fall, and I got some other projects on the side as well. So it's been really exciting. It still requires a lot of time management and being smart about, you still have to sacrifice a lot. I would love to be heading out with friends a couple nights a week, but I recognize that that's going to play a role in how I'm going to feel the next morning when I have a 20-miler, etc. So again, it's balance. I say balance so much, and I don't have it figured out, but I'm constantly striving to find the best balance between my running, my relationship with Christina, my friends and family. It's a challenge, but it can be done if you determine your priorities.
I think that balance thing is huge, and it's especially huge hearing it from, you know, a guy that's particularly on like the extreme end of, you know, a particular sport. That that's such a massive part of being successful and ultimately, you know, or happy, right? Because that's ultimately what it's about. It's just like you were saying, you were super successful last year, but it also really weighed on you, right? You know, you're having tougher with Christina. You weren't seeing her as much, and you know all these other things. So that balance part is super awesome.
Yeah, I think it's important to take a step back and recognize, despite success, you got to look at that bigger picture and find the greater balance, not just success in one area. You want to find a better compromise between it all.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to say as well is, you know, people often ask me who are your heroes in the sport, and this comes to balance as well. And my answer is always, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, is family men, family women who are out there winning races or just participating. You know, Seth Swanson finished second for the second time in a row, wife and 2 kids. Yourself, you and Lauren are great role models and examples of this, to manage business and sport and set such an amazing example for your children, other children, and everybody around you. It's I love that. You know, I mean, you guys are my heroes.
Oh wow! Well, thank you. So thank you for that. What a plug. Your check's in the mail, buddy. All right. Let's see. How about I guess kind of looking forward, you know, and I've got one more question, then I'll just do a couple short ones from some of our Picky Bar fans. I don't even know what we call them, whatever. The people that submitted questions through our website.
Yeah.
So looking forward, what are your career goals, or if they're not goals, you know, what are the philosophies kind of guiding your career? You know, what do you hope to accomplish or experience in the sport?
Yeah, you know, I'm starting to dial that in more than I've been able to in the past. I think this 6-month leave of absence from work has really ingrained, and I think I knew it, but now I fully realize that that job was unhealthy for me in a lot of reasons. I certainly can never run to my potential working that job, and I think it also played a strong role in my struggles with depression as well. So I'm doing a lot of contemplating, a lot of soul search right now into what to do later in the year, and it's been fun, having this camp go be so successful and seeing how much fun people had. That's my opportunity to give back as well. So I'm trying to put the pieces together to allow me to take a go at making running and my projects surrounding running my career and full-time job for the foreseeable future. So that's my goal. But I'm putting a lot of work and time and effort into exploring that possibility right now.
That's awesome. That always reminds me, I was kind of the same way when I started triathlon, and it always reminds me of a magnet that was on my mom's refrigerator, right? And the magnet said, sometimes you just have to jump and build your wings on the way down. And I think that's a lot of what, niche sports like ours, that's a lot of what it is. It's hard to figure it out ahead of time, and you just have to go do it and do what you love, and, hopefully figure it out as you go along.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's exactly my mindset, and that's a great model. I'll probably be reminding myself of that in the weeks ahead and months ahead.
Cool. All right, I'm going to toss you a couple quick questions from some of our people, and then we'll let you go. What is your daily eating plan when you are in normal training?
Yeah, like I say, really avoid extremes. I'm guilty of not eating breakfast most days. I'll wake up, have coffee, and then head out for my run. Even longer runs, I'll skip breakfast. I'm not saying that's the best thing to do, but it seems to work well for me. I definitely very focused on recovery, immediate recovery, nutrition especially after long runs and workouts. So my go-to is a shake that I make. We received a Vitamix blender for our wedding, which gets daily use, it seems. So soy milk, bananas, frozen bananas, cinnamon, yogurt. I use Flora's 7 Sources oil in there. I've started throwing in my Need for Seed, my favorite Picky bar, in there. A couple other spices, whatever I feel like that day, and GU Recovery chocolate powder. It's awesome. It's very. I kind of start daydreaming about it the last quarter of my run. It's an easy way for me to get 600, 700, 800 calories in. So post-run nutrition is huge, and then overall we just lead a really healthy plant and grain-based diet with no extremes. And I think that's it works really well for me. I don't have any specific advice other than avoiding the extremes that are out there. You need to be very cautious with those. There's always anomalies. There's people that those extremes work for, but I would think, and I believe fairly strongly, that for the general population, avoiding the extremes would be an important way to move forward with your diet and nutrition.
Good. I agree. Good tips. Speaking of tips, what are your tips for someone running their first 100-mile race? This is from Atha in Santa Rosa.
Yeah, without the background, have they run a number of smaller races, or are they just jumping into it? But in general, I would choose a 100-miler that suits your strengths the first time around, and err on the side of caution. I always start my ultras, whether it's 50-miler or 100-miler, very conservatively. It is so much more pleasurable to be doing the passing late in the race than being passed, and starting conservative is the way to go. Definitely err on the side of caution of nutrition and hydration, and have fun out there. Don't take it too seriously the first time around. Just get through that first 100, learn from that experience, then dial it in the next time around.
Man, you're nailing it. I totally agree. All these I feel like everything you're saying are like the exact same responses I would have for somebody doing triathlon or whatever, asking me similar questions. That's awesome. Do you this one's from Akut, maybe? That's probably butchered it, from Istanbul. Do you see yourself running any of the iconic road ultras such as Spartathlon? Oh, it's terrible. Spartathlon?
Spartathlon.
Badwater, or any other 24-hour races. Sorry for all the people that I just disrespected by not saying any of those correctly.
Yeah, no, I don't at all.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
I've experimented on the roads, and I ran myself into the ground. But more importantly, the trails are softer on my body, and you know, this is always a difficult way to answer the question. The easy answer is, well, I love being on the trails and being in nature and seeing the animals, which is true. But my time on the trails is my time to be spiritual, and either to think a lot and problem solve, or to be alone and think of nothing. I value my time on the trails so greatly. I recognize its importance, and returning to the roads would compromise my health, physical and mental. So no, I found my peace and I found my calling on the trails, and I'm gonna stick there.
Awesome. All right, last one. So speaking of trails and trees and small animals, we got this question that said, how long has it taken for you to grow your beard? It seems like you could hide a small squirrel in that thing. Have you ever found a squirrel in your beard by chance?
Not a squirrel, but you know, Rob Cart's beard was on fire. The Twitter handle at Western States, and there's a long thread about hiding beard, and it's Rob, just get up this hill, and you can eat the skittle hidden in your beard, and it's pretty funny. Man, the beard, I love it. So a little story here. The beard came to be because I met this incredible woman in the Colorado mountain. She is such an incredible outdoors woman. She's hiked the AT and the PCT, and you know, I love the outdoors, but I'm not as burly and hardcore as she is. And I needed a way to impress her. And she mentioned something about a beard, and I started growing my beard the next day. So that was the start of Rob Carr's beard. And I'm really glad I feel comfortable in it, and it's got a lot of attention, I got to say. But to me, it's just my beard, not Rob Carr's beard. That makes sense.
There you go. Moral of the story, it was all for a girl, basically. That's what we're saying. Okay, cool. Good to know. Rob, I think that's it, man. We've certainly taken enough of your time. We really appreciate, like I said, you being not only just doing this, but being the guinea pig for our first ever kind of, you know, chat with one of our Picky Team athletes. You gave us some great tips. I think people will be able to watch this on YouTube. We'll send out the link later, so you can send it out to anybody you want. And thanks to everyone for submitting questions. And Rob, just thanks a lot, man. Good luck on everything you have going on down the road.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me. For first time, I think you guys nailed it. It was a lot of fun. So hopefully the audience got a lot out of it as well.
Cool. All right. Take it easy, man. Have a good one. Thanks.
See you guys. Bye-bye.